All right, so we're diving into some pretty dense stuff today, folks.
Yeah, definitely dense.
The SPD's draft platform for the 2025 election.
Uh-huh.
It's their vision for Germany's future, basically laid out.
Blueprint.
Yeah, a blueprint.
How they govern.
We're going to try to unpack it all.
Big job.
Big job.
And this is just a draft, too.
Right. This is just the starting point.
Just the beginning.
Buckle up, because this is going to be a deep dive.
Yeah, deeper.
Okay, so one thing that jumps out right away is this "we fight for" thing.
Yeah, they use it a lot.
A lot. Like they're ready to,
Take on the world.
take on the world,
Yeah.
or at least the challenges facing Germany.
Exactly. It's all about strength, action,
Especially now.
especially now with all the uncertainty.
At Zeitenwende, as they call
Yeah,
it.
the turning point.
So what are some of the big battlegrounds they've identified?
Well, the economy is definitely one.
Economy, yeah. Got to have that strong foundation.
Yeah, foundation for everything else they want to do.
So how are they going to keep Germany competitive?
Well, there's this Made in Germany 2.0 concept.
Okay, 2.0, what's that all about? Like an upgrade?
Basically, like
Yeah.
replicating Germany's success in manufacturing,
Okay.
but with all the new technologies, 21st century stuff.
Right, right.
So think electrification,
Electrification, yeah. I've seen a lot about that.
especially for cars.
Yeah, the auto industry, big deal for Germany.
Huge.
But electrification isn't everything, right?
No, not a magic bullet.
So what else?
Hydrogen,
Hydrogen, yeah. I've heard that's a big part of the plan, too.
especially for industries that use a lot of energy.
So less coal and steel and more AI and green energy.
Right, it's a big shift.
Sounds kind of vague, though.
No, they have specifics.
Oh, okay, like what?
So for green steel, they want to create green steel made in Germany, lead markets.
Lead markets, what's that?
So think of public projects like
Like infrastructure and stuff?
yeah, railways, power grids, those kinds of things. They'd be required to use a certain percentage of green steel.
So they're using government spending to drive demand.
Exactly. It's clever.
Yeah, pretty clever.
And that creates a market for these new technologies.
Intense.
They're trying to be strategic.
But what about the businesses themselves? I mean,
Yeah.
energy costs are a big deal right now.
Absolutely, especially with global competition.
So how do they address that?
Affordable energy is a key concern.
Okay, but how?
Well, they want to stabilize and cap transmission grid fees.
Oh, yeah, those have been a problem.
A big problem for energy-intensive industries.
Yeah, I can see that.
And they also want to make charging electric vehicles cheaper than refueling gas cars.
Whoa, that's ambitious.
Yeah, very ambitious.
Especially with the energy situation right now.
They're really pushing for Germany to lead the way.
In the green transition.
Exactly.
What about the people who are worried about losing their jobs in this transition?
Right, that's a real concern.
How does the SPD plan to address that?
That's where their focus on the labor market comes in.
Okay, so it's not just about creating new jobs
No, it's also about protecting existing jobs
and making sure they're good jobs.
with fair pay, decent working conditions,
All right, the whole package.
Exactly.
It's like they're acknowledging that the nature of work is changing.
And trying to help people navigate that change.
Yeah, provide some security in a time of uncertainty.
Exactly.
Okay, so one thing that caught my eye in the platform,
Mm-hmm.
this proposal about a legally mandated list of decisions
Yeah.
that require approval from the supervisory board in companies.
Interesting idea.
So how would that work and what impact would it have?
Basically, it's about giving workers more say
Okay.
in how their companies are run.
So they'd have a voice.
A real voice in decisions that affect them directly.
This is like a power shift.
Yeah, pretty big shift from the traditional top-down approach.
So more worker empowerment.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
And this ties into their focus on social justice, right?
Absolutely.
It's like they're saying everyone should have a chance to live a good life.
Regardless of background, income, all that.
Yeah, that's a powerful message.
It is.
And it's not just about traditional economic concerns.
Right. It goes beyond that.
They're talking about affordable housing,
Support for families.
even combating loneliness.
Yeah, they're getting into some pretty deep stuff.
They're really trying to address the whole picture.
The whole picture of well-being.
It's fascinating.
It is.
So what are some of the specific measures they're proposing in these areas?
Let's start with housing.
Okay, housing, big issue in Germany,
Huge issue.
especially in the cities.
Rents are skyrocketing.
So what's the plan?
Well, they want to extend the meat price brems.
You beat price brems.
Yeah.
That's like rent control, right?
Right. And they want to extend it indefinitely.
Yeah, indefinitely.
And close any loopholes landlords use to get around it.
Okay, so they're serious about affordable housing.
Very serious.
And what about families?
They want to make sure families with low incomes aren't struggling.
Okay, how? Increasing child benefits, reducing reliance on supplemental social assistance?
So direct support to families.
Exactly.
Like they're trying to create a system,
where everyone has a chance to thrive.
a real safety net.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay, what else stands out to you?
Well, this focus on loneliness is interesting.
Loneliness.
Yeah, it's a growing problem.
You don't usually see that in political platforms.
No, it's pretty unique.
So what are they proposing?
Funding research into its causes, potential solutions.
So taking it seriously.
Recognizing it as a real societal issue.
With real consequences.
Social, economic, all of that.
It's like they're saying well-being goes beyond just having a job and a roof over your head.
Exactly. It's about feeling connected, supported.
It's a pretty holistic approach.
It is.
I like it.
It's refreshing.
But one thing I'm wondering about, how are they going to pay for all this?
Yeah, that's the big question.
These are ambitious goals.
Very ambitious.
And they don't come cheap.
They've got some ideas. Like what?
Well, they're talking about strengthening public finances,
Okay.
reforming the tax system.
Tax reform. Always a touchy subject.
Yes.
So what are they thinking?
They want to make sure high earners and wealthy individuals are contributing their fair share.
So no tax cuts for the rich.
Not exactly.
Okay, what are they doing then?
They're actually proposing targeted tax relief
For who?
for low and middle income earners.
Interesting.
Their argument is that this would boost consumer spending
Okay, that makes sense.
and also help to reduce inequality.
So it's a double whammy.
Exactly. They're trying to hit multiple targets.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
A lot.
Economy, labor market, social justice, public finances.
It's a lot to digest.
It is.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet.
No, not even close.
Where do we go from here?
Well, we still need to dive into healthcare, long-term care,
And climate protection.
sustainability, security, foreign policy.
Oh boy, we've got our work cut out for us.
Buckle up, it's only going to get deeper from here.
All right, let's take a break and we'll come back to tackle the rest of this platform.
Sounds good to me.
Back again with our deep dive into the SPD platform.
A lot's more to uncover.
We're getting into healthcare now.
Yeah,
A
healthcare.
big one.
Huge.
So what are they prioritizing?
Equal access, high-quality care.
Those are some big words.
Yeah, but what do they mean in practice?
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
So they're really focused on this idea that everyone deserves the same level of care,
Okay.
regardless of their income.
So like a true safety net?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone contributes, everyone benefits.
That's the idea.
Are they talking about completely overhauling the system?
Not completely.
Okay, so more like
Reforms, adjustments.
what kind of reforms?
Well, one big thing is private insurance.
Oh, interesting.
They want them to contribute more
To what?
to the risk adjustment scheme.
What's that?
It's a way to balance things out, public and private insurance.
So everyone's contributing their fair share?
Exactly, trying to level the playing field a bit.
Makes sense. What else?
They want to improve healthcare in rural areas.
Oh, yeah, that's a big issue.
Access to specialists, services.
It's a challenge.
Big challenge.
So how do they plan to do that?
Enhance emergency services, rescue services,
Okay.
and promote collaboration through things like telemedicine.
Telemedicine. Interesting.
Telepharmacy.
So people in rural areas can consult with specialists.
Virtually, without having to travel for hours.
That could be huge.
It could.
Especially for people who live far from hospitals.
Yeah, it's about making sure everyone has access.
To the care they need.
No matter where they live.
I like it.
It's a good goal.
Okay, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
Technology and healthcare.
Uh-huh. Big topic.
They talk a lot about digitalization, AI.
They do. They see a lot of potential there.
Are they embracing it or approaching it cautiously?
I'd say embracing it.
Like how?
Well, they're pushing for the electronic patient record.
Oh yeah, that's been a long time coming.
It would allow doctors to access
A patient's entire medical history.
instantly, no more digging through files.
That could be really helpful.
It could for both patients and doctors.
AI.
They see AI as key for improving diagnostics, treatment,
So like earlier diagnoses,
more personalized treatments.
maybe even cures for diseases we thought were incurable.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
It is, but it also raises some concerns.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like data privacy, security.
Those are big issues.
Are they addressing those?
The document mentions responsible data handling,
Okay.
secure handling.
But no specifics.
Not really. They'll need to flesh that out more.
Makes sense.
It's still early stages.
All right, let's move on to long-term care,
Okay, another big one.
especially with an aging population.
Huge challenge for Germany.
What's the SPD's approach?
They want to eliminate the financial burden.
of needing long-term care.
Exactly.
That's a big goal.
It is.
How are they going to do that?
A system financed through solidarity.
Solidarity, again.
It's a key theme for them.
Secure care,
Stable contributions.
so everyone contributes.
Everyone benefits.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're applying the same principles.
To healthcare and long-term care.
Makes sense, they're both essential services.
But what would this look like in practice?
They're prioritizing home-based care.
Okay, so people can stay in their homes
As long as possible, that's the goal.
and support for caregivers.
Financial support, more flexible policies.
So the Familienpflegeeld stuff comes in here.
Exactly. They recognize that family members often take on the burden,
Of caregiving.
and they want to make sure they have support.
It's interesting how they're connecting all these different aspects
Yeah, they're trying to create a more holistic approach
to supporting families, individuals.
throughout their lives.
What about technology and long-term care?
They see digitalization playing a role there too.
How so?
Enhancing care through digital products, advisory services,
Okay, like what?
remote patient monitoring, virtual consultations, easy access to resources, support for caregivers,
So using technology to make things easier.
and improve the quality of care.
All right, let's shift gears again.
Okay, where to next?
Climate protection and sustainability.
Big one.
Arguably the biggest issue facing the world today.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So how does the SPD approach this?
Affordable climate protection.
Affordable, that's key.
Absolutely.
It's got to work for everyone.
Not just the wealthy.
So green policies that don't break the bank.
Exactly.
Sounds good, but how?
They want to expand wind and solar power.
Okay, those are already the cheapest forms of energy.
In Germany.
And they want to prevent further increases in grid fees.
Which would keep energy costs down for consumers.
Makes sense. But Germany's had some trouble with renewables in the past.
Public acceptance, infrastructure challenges.
So how are they addressing those?
They're backing the Kommunale Wärmeplanung initiative.
Kommunale Wärmeplanung, what's that?
It encourages local communities to create their own plans for climate-friendly energy supply.
So more local control,
Exactly.
less top-down mandates.
It's about finding solutions that work for each community.
That could be a good way to build support.
It could.
What else are they doing to ensure a just transition?
They're paying attention to individual households.
Okay, good.
They want to expand the Stromsparcheck advisory service.
Stromsparcheck, what's that?
It helps low-income households save energy, reduce their bills.
So practical advice.
Exactly. And they're also proposing heating rent models.
Heating rent models, like what?
Sociale Wärme Pumpen leasing.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
It makes it easier to switch to more energy-efficient heating.
Without a big upfront cost.
Exactly. It's about making the transition affordable.
So it's not just about big picture solutions.
No, they're thinking about the details, too.
The needs of individual households.
It's important.
What about their overall climate goals?
They're sticking with the big goals.
Like the Paris Agreement.
The EU Green Deal.
Limiting global temperature rise.
They're not shying away from ambitious targets.
But how do they plan to achieve those while ensuring energy security?
It's a balancing act, for sure.
It is.
They're calling for investment in renewables, grid modernization.
And energy efficiency.
Big investments are needed.
And they see a role for the government.
In facilitating this transition, providing incentives.
It's interesting how they're weaving all these policies together.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Economic policy, social policy, climate policies.
This is a holistic vision.
For a sustainable and equitable future.
That's the idea.
But we're running out of time for this part of the deep dive.
We are.
What else is on the agenda?
Security and foreign policy.
The Zeitenwende stuff.
Exactly. They see a need for more assertive foreign policy.
We'll dive into that in the next part of the episode.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back for the final stretch of this deep dive into the SPD's platform. We've covered a lot of ground already, but now it's time for the big picture stuff. Security and Germany's role in the world, especially with this whole Zeitenwende they keep talking about. Yeah. They want a strong and efficient state, they say. But what does that even mean in practical terms?
Well, it's about both internal and external security. On the home front, they're talking about making the state more citizen-friendly.
Okay, so like less bureaucracy.
Exactly. Streamlining things, making it easier to interact with the state, and faster digitalization of public administration.
So more online services, less paperwork.
That's the idea. Anyone who's ever had to deal with German bureaucracy knows that's a good thing.
Definitely. But what about the people actually working for this state? The public sector is facing a lot of challenges these days.
Right, like attracting and retaining talent in this age of rapid technological change.
Exactly. So how does the SPD plan to address that?
Well, they want to make public service jobs more attractive, more flexible work models, opportunities for lifelong learning, and fewer temporary contracts.
So it's not just about modernizing the technology, but the workplace culture, too.
Absolutely. They recognize that a well-functioning state needs talented and dedicated people.
Makes sense. But what about more traditional security concerns, like crime prevention, law enforcement, that sort of thing?
They talk a lot about effective internal security. Combating crime, violence, and hate speech are top priorities. They also want to modernize the General Equal Treatment Act.
The AGE.
Yeah, to better protect people from discrimination and to be more proactive about addressing extremist tendencies.
So not just reacting to crime, but trying to prevent it in the first place.
Right, it's about building a more inclusive and tolerant society.
Any specific proposals that stand out to you?
Well, there's this interesting idea called the Genehmigungsfiction.
Genehmigungsfiction.
It would basically automatically approve permits or licenses
Oh, wow.
if the authorities don't respond within a certain time frame.
So it's like a default yes, unless they explicitly say no.
Exactly. It's about cutting through the red tape and preventing unnecessary delays.
I can see how that would be helpful for businesses and individuals.
Mm,
But what about more serious threats, like terrorism or organized crime?
They want to strengthen security authorities and the justice system. More personnel, continued modernization,
Okay, so more resources.
and also cracking down on online violence and crime, stricter regulations for hate speech, online crime.
It's like they're trying to update traditional law enforcement for the digital age.
Exactly. They even propose a Digitales Gewaltschutzgesetz.
Digital protection against violence law. So they're taking online security seriously.
Absolutely. They recognize the digital world presents a whole new set of challenges.
And speaking of challenges, they also focus on protecting women from violence.
Right. That's a persistent and serious issue.
What are they proposing to do about it?
They want to close loopholes in the existing criminal law, improve law enforcement training on gender-based violence, and they're pushing for full implementation of the Istanbul Convention,
Which
the big international treaty on preventing and combating violence against women.
Okay, so they're really trying to tackle this issue on multiple fronts.
They are. It's a priority for them.
Okay, so that's their domestic security agenda. But let's zoom out a bit, talk about foreign policy.
Right. How do they see Germany's role in the world in this new era?
Exactly. What's their vision for Germany on the global stage?
Promoting peace and security is their overarching role, advocating for a strong and capable Europe, strengthening alliances, upholding international law and human rights.
So a continuation of Germany's traditional multilateralist approach.
Yeah, I think so, but maybe with a greater emphasis on European leadership.
And defense cooperation,
Exactly. They explicitly call for a European defense union.
allowing the EU to act more decisively on security matters.
Right. And they also reaffirm their strong support for Ukraine.
In the face of Russian aggression, it's a clear message of solidarity with Ukraine.
It is, but it's also a recognition of the threat posed by Russia.
Okay, but what about beyond the current crisis in Europe? What are their broader foreign policy goals?
Diplomacy and multilateral institutions are at the heart of their approach to resolving international conflicts.
Okay, so working through established channels.
Exactly. And they see the EU as a key player in promoting peace and democracy worldwide.
So a lot of emphasis on the EU.
Yeah, they see a strong Europe as essential for German and global security.
It's interesting how this echoes their domestic agenda. Like, they emphasize the role of the state in creating a just society at home.
Right, and they see a similar role for international cooperation in addressing global challenges.
It's a consistent worldview. Like, cooperation and solidarity are the keys to stability.
Both domestically and internationally.
Exactly. So after this deep dive into the SPD's platform, what are your key takeaways?
Well, they're presenting themselves as a party of action, ready to tackle the challenges of the Zeitenwende,
And they've got a pretty comprehensive agenda.
covering almost every aspect of German society. But what really stands out is their commitment to social justice and solidarity.
It's a recurring theme throughout the document.
They're not shying away from complex issues or offering simplistic solutions.
They're really getting into the details, outlining concrete plans for how they would govern.
It's a fascinating glimpse into their vision for Germany's future.
It is. And for you listening, I encourage you to check out the full platform document yourself.
especially if anything we've talked about today has piqued your interest.
This is just a draft, of course,
Things could change between now and the election.
but it's still a valuable insight into the SPD's thinking and priorities.
And how they see Germany navigating this new era.
It's been a great conversation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And for you listening, keep those questions coming. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of German politics.